Last night, I heard for the second time that if a nation is not able to defend its territory, so then it doesn't have sovereignty over it. The first time I heard that was in a short video, 5 minutes video from a historian, that he was kind of like clearing up the history or the common belief behind the settlement in America by Americans. And he was explaining how the settlers or the conquerors had to negotiate with the Indians in order to get that land, or obviously in some instances they had to fight to get possession of the land. This is a short video. These are like 5 minutes, and right at the end of it, he ends up saying that this idea that if the people, the nation, the tribe cannot defend their territories, and then sovereignty is something that is not conceded, and that has happened all throughout history. That was the first time. And then the second time was last night, when I listened to a very short clip of Stephen Miller on Fox discussing the Greenland situation. And he goes on something like, Denmark is a tiny country with a tiny military, and therefore they can't really defend the land, so they really don't have sovereignty over it. Something along those lines. But I thought it really resonated with me, because I've been thinking about this idea for, I don't know, maybe 20 years. And there was these times where I would walk from work from Union Square all the way to 14th Street and 6th Avenue, 7th Avenue. And if you ever been in New York, you know those blocks are very, very long. And I recall myself thinking about this whole idea of how America was formed, and they achieved that greatness that the entire world admires and loves, right? And my mind would go back in time, trying to see what was that whole interaction with the settlers and the people that were living here. And one of the things that it kind of always intrigued me is this idea that settlers had to shred a lot of blood and sweat. Now, this was not easy, right? This wasn't given to them. It was a lot of blood, and obviously that brought a lot of trauma and almost like a curse on just, you know, like the generations to come. And the curse was that curse of trauma. So it has taken centuries to kind of like wash away that guilt, that trauma, and really get positioned as their landlords of this territory. So when I heard, you know, like last night when I heard Stephen Miller say this, plus this other historian, it kind of like clicked on me. It was kind of both liberating, assuring, and liberating. Assuring because now here we are understanding that the Americas from north to south have a controversial history, yet it's a history that has repeated throughout human time. So it's part of human nature in a way. And if it wasn't us, it could have been someone else, right? And then liberating too, because it's something where I would say accepting as I said, of human nature. It's the way that humans interact with each other, and that innate motivation for expansion. And expansion oftentimes means that happens through taking others. And that's what I think is happening now in Greenland. I mean, like, obviously, the US, whatever the rhetoric is behind the acquisition of Greenland, and, we can agree or not agree, or it could be a valid motive or not, or a valid rationale or not. But the truth is that there is this desire, or a strategic desire, or this plan, or this vision to expand, and Denmark cannot keep up to defend that expansion. And I mean, it's unfair, morally unfair, but at the end of the day is what is kind of like the rules of the game in the world stage, isn't it? And if you think about it, that territorial the territorial battle is something that happens every single day with 100 different instances. And we, in this modern day and in these modern societies, still experience. And yet Europe is acting as it's something like completely bananas and completely like barbarian. And yet I feel that this is coming from a place of naivety almost. If you look at Latin America, for instance, like not long ago, 40 years ago, Argentina went to war over the Falkland Islands. Argentina at schools today in Argentina is taught that the Falkland Islands are Argentine. And yet we lost the war. We were not able to defend that territory. We were not able to get that territory. So no, it's not Argentine. I mean, it's there in the map. You see the map and it's part of, right? It's like right there, but no, not really. Like, if you cannot defend that territory, then you have no sovereignty over it. And not only Argentina, it could be like an extreme case, but if you go to Mexico today with the cartels can like literally take over territory in different parts of Mexico, declare it a no trespassing zone, and there's no military or state jurisdiction can kind of claim over it. If it's literally civil war, if they go and say, like there's a literally confrontation there that can lead to civil war. So this territorial thing is something that is alive and happening every day in Latin America and in other places like Israel-Palestine is another example. I mean, and I'm not saying good or bad or bad or well. I'm just saying like this is how the world has functioned forever. And the fact that we have this very snobbish society coming to kind of point a finger at this decision from the Trump administration to expand and basically take over Greenland, it's just, to me, it's a political suicide. It's just really, in a way, kind of asserting that they have no skin in the game. And the reason why they don't have skin in the game is because they don't actually have a way to defend that territory seriously. So anyways, I thought it was very interesting because in a way if you start thinking on those longer kind of patterns that humans have, in a way, the whole kind of expansion that the Europeans did through the colonization of the Americas, it starts getting washed out, right? Like washed away. Like, okay, well, that's kind of human nature. And at the same time, it gives the people of the land that are actually making the land function, whether it's in the United States, in Canada, or whatever in the world, the right to defend it and to fight for it. Especially if there were all of these blood and sweat in order to acquire it, right? I thought that was that's something that I often think about it. Really, I think America is America as in not this particular nation, but as in this expansion of the Europeans. So the Americas is something that we have absolutely fought for, and we have kind of like a curse for taking over it, which is the trauma, right? The generational trauma, and that at the same time generates a lot of guilt. And now we feel guilty because maybe, like some ancestor, had to defend himself or herself, or defend their family, or mark a boundary and do terrible things. So I guess my overall thought here is that sometimes it's just the name of the game. And even though Christianity and we're Christians, and even though we understand that we're all equal and we all deserve respect, sometimes we still have that animal beast part of us that make us act in those ways. Anyways, thank you so much. I appreciate it, for you being here and listening to my thoughts. I'll be back soon. My name is Magdalene. I am doing this to learn how to express myself and how to articulate all the ideas that I have in my head. So I appreciate that you made it all the way to the end. Cheers.